You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after a very dominant Braves win. Great pitching, great hitting, plenty of offense. And wow, one of the best performances by Charlie Morton this season. All of it added up to a Braves win over the Mets, a series victory, and a nice way to put an exclamation point on an extremely good homestand for the Atlanta Braves. We got a lot to get into on this edition of the show. So as always, I invite you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta here on YouTube. Click that bell. You'll get notified every time we drop a new episode here of the show. Speaking of which, if you're here, might as well go ahead and hit that like button. Leave us a comment. Share the show with a friend. That helps us out immensely as we look to make the show and the channel grow. And make sure you subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcasts. We've got a few things to get to before anybody pours a crown here on the POSTCAST, but the Braves were pouring it on offensively, and Charlie Morton, he was locked in again, Jake.
He was. I mean, back-to-back now dominant performances, 3 straight shutout performances. This is a game you love right here. Great pitching and great hitting. You shut out the Mets, your rival. You finish off a good yearly series against them with another series win.
Yeah, the Braves really were taking care of business against the New York Mets head-to-head. I don't think this season played out how either fan base was expecting coming into the year, but the Braves will most certainly take it because every one of these wins, every one of these series that they're able to win, well, that helps them take one more step toward the National League East crown, another step towards perhaps home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and we all know what the ultimate goal is, and we'll talk about that when the time is right. But let's talk about game number 126 of the season. Braves picking up the win, 7-0 to shut out behind Charlie Morton. Mets dropped to 59-69, just 3 hits. They made 1 error, left 6 men on base. Braves, meanwhile, now 82-44, 7 runs, 12 hits, no errors, 5 men left aboard. Charlie Morton picks up the win. He's now 13-10. Jose Quintana takes the loss. 2 hours, 35 minutes of time a game, 35,674 paid to see it at Truist Park. And they paid to see Charlie Morton's best performance of the season, no doubt, as he was looking extremely good against the New York Mets. How about 7 innings of 2-hit ball, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, a season high for him, Jake. And I don't think it's an exaggeration whatsoever to say this was Charlie Morton's best outing of 2023.
Yeah, if the last one wasn't, I think this one definitely is. I mean, what he was able to do and just the command that he has. This is why, I mean, we had a little scuffle through the rotation. Everybody's saying, who do you start in the postseason? We're having a postseason rotation conversation 2 months before. And that's why I just say you stick with Charlie Morton because this is what he can give you. He can give you those dominant type outings. And look, this Mets team was playing really good baseball coming into this. I think it was much different than the one we saw in New York, which was a little bit lifeless. We saw in the first game of this series that there was a lot of fight left in them. So again, just great stuff from Charlie Morton. I mean, you can go down and read all the stats here and what he was able to do, but 19 swings and misses on 44 swings against this Mets lineup that doesn't swing and miss a lot. That's a 43% whiff percentage. And you combine that with 23 called strikes. So 42 whiffs plus called strikes. That is just amazing. I mean, that is a dominant performance. Typically, you're looking for somebody to get around 30 of those if they throw 100 pitches, which Charlie went over that on Wednesday night. So yeah, everything working, all of his pitches too. I mean, it's not just a curveball. He had 7 whiffs on the curveball, but he also had 6 on the fastball, 3 on the cutter, 3 on the changeup. I mean, he really just had everything in his arsenal working for him.
Yeah, and when you've got an elite pitch like he does in that curveball, and you are able to have the fastball command, that everything else, it all starts there. I mean, that's not rocket science for any pitcher, save a knuckleballer. You're not as concerned about it there. But for a pitcher, a power pitcher like Charlie Morton is, if you are able to establish your fastball, that curveball obviously going to become a bigger and better weapon. But the fact that he is mixing some of his other offerings in, I think that's starting to give hitters a little bit else, something else to think about besides, okay, well, he's not locating his curveball. I can lay off of that, and I can go fastball hunting. We have not seen that much, especially lately, the way he's been throwing. You mentioned he's got 18 scoreless innings now over those last 3 appearances. The 5 innings against the New York Mets, I know he walked 7 guys, but, Jake, that did feel like the kind of start where maybe he was really starting to tinker and figure something out after 4 starts that he would obviously like to forget.
Yeah, we talked about it the post game of that one. He said, he was still trying to find that command and that release point with his pitches. But even in that outing, I mean, 5 scoreless, walking 7. That means you're making some good pitches in there somewhere to get out of those jams to be able to put up zeros. So I think you're right. That was kind of hopefully the beginning of what we're going to see is Charlie Morton getting on a run here. I mean, I don't know if you get 7 scoreless every time out, but certainly would love to see that from him. But you're talking about 2 starts in a row now, just 2 walks. He did hit a batter tonight. That's going to happen sometimes with Charlie Morton, but just 2 walks and 21 strikeouts in these last 2 appearances for Charlie Morton. I mean, again, we've said it all along, even when he's going through some of those struggles, it still has the stuff. You're talking about an upper 90s fastball and one of the better curveballs. But I think you're right. Being able to mix in that cutter and that changeup a little bit more to maybe just give the hitter something else to think about. And maybe when that you don't have the command of that fastball or the curveball, it gives you a little bit something else to go to. So again, I know he's 39, but still learning things and growing and trying to figure out ways to be successful. And we've seen it. Now we just need the consistency, something that's really been struggling for Charlie these last 2 years. Hopefully this is the beginning of him being that more dominant, middle 3, number 2 type starter consistently.
Yeah. And you mentioned he's 39 years old. So what does he have that a lot of younger pitchers are trying to get? Well, he has experience, and sometimes, failure when things don't work out is a very good teacher. And I'm sure that Charlie Morton left each and every one of those 4 starts after the good one against the White Sox to start the second half and started to figure out, okay, what is not working here? How do I get to where I want to get? What do I need to change? What do I need to adjust? And clearly, with baseball being the game of adjustments, he figured out a couple of things. Back-to-back double-digit strikeout games. He's got 3 of those on the season. These were his first since the middle of May, though. So perhaps Charlie's getting stronger as the year goes on in that regard. Speaking of getting strong as the year goes on, well, Marcell Ozuna would be that guy. That might be the description of his season. It was a slow start. It was a hot month of May, rolled it right on into June. Then things kind of cooled off again. But Marcell Ozuna, once again, 3 for 4, a home run, 4 runs knocked in. He was 8 for 11 with 4 homers against the New York Mets. Jake, I think they're going to be very happy to not see Marcell Ozuna again until 2024.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams might be saying that right now. You talked about Eddie Rosario being the player of the week last week. Ozuna making a strong case already this week as we're not even halfway through it. But what a series it was for him. And I think maybe most importantly was that first inning hit. You know how great the Braves are in scoring in the first inning, but getting that 2-out RBI early on, give yourself a lead, especially with the way Charlie was pitching tonight, which you didn't know he was going to quite be like that in that first inning. But to be able to get something there with 2 out, he had 3 2-out RBIs tonight. Those are just huge, and they're devastating for the opponent. So again, just doing it in a variety of ways. We're talking about it every night right now with the month that he's having. I mean, his August numbers right now are just absurd. So just another great game for the Big Bear.
Yeah, please allow me to throw out some statistics about his month of August, in which he is batting .363, and that's after going, I believe, 0 for 8 in the first 2 games of this month. So 17 for 30 on the homestand for Ozuna, 5 home runs, 10 runs knocked in, 12 more runs scored, drawing plenty of walks in the middle of all kinds of run scoring for the Braves. You look at the 100 plate appearances from June 1st through August the 2nd, when Ozuna began his 16-game hitting streak. He had 18 hits in 100 plate appearances. Had 17 hits on this homestand, and that's just throwing out the 16-game hitting streak on the whole and just kind of cherry picking what he did in the last 9 games. It's been ridiculous, and it's been well-timed for the Braves, as we know that a couple of other hitters have been a little quieter lately in Matt Olson and Austin Riley, though, hey, both of those guys had multi-hit games. Maybe that's the start of something for them. Ronald Acuna Jr. had a couple of hits. We saw Sean Murphy knock in a run on base twice, and Vaughn Grissom, one of the more, entertaining triples I've seen, because DJ Stewart's dive in right field, that had me all kinds of tickled, if you will. Even sitting in the press box at Truist Park, I could not stop laughing at that. He definitely bounced out in right field, and Grissom will take the 2 runs knocked in and the 3-base hit.
Yeah, whether you want to call it a gift, GIF, whatever the kids are calling it, that's going to be one for quite some time. It was rather entertaining, but what a great swing by Vaughn Grissom, too, just shooting that ball the other way. You heard Chipper talking about on the broadcast. Don't know where he's going to play, but the kid can hit. I mean, he can flat out hit. That is, obvious when you watch him play, but a great swing there, driving a couple more runs. Good for him. See him get another start in here while he's up. Ozzy could be back, very soon. So we're talking about that. So his opportunities might be coming to an end. So good to see him get in there, get another shot, and get a good swing like that. A couple runs batted in for him.
Yeah, I asked Brian Snitker about Ozzy Albies before the game, and he told me that everything is progressing exactly the way that they want it to. He's been, able to do pretty much everything. I think they're going to try to get him out there, work him a little bit harder, and make sure all systems are go. They're not going to take any chances with aggravating a hamstring injury. That, I think, was the whole point of this 10 days. But Ozzy, as Snit likes to say, he only plays the game at one speed. So you have to make sure that a guy like that is ready to go and come back. And it sounds like this weekend against San Francisco, he's eligible to come off the injured list on Friday. There's a very high likelihood of that happening. So hopefully Ozzy Albies can jump back in and the Braves offense just picks up right where it left off and continues to do what it's done all year long. 7-2 homestand for the club with the Major League's best record, 82-44 now for the Braves. Atlanta 10-3 against the New York Mets this season. That's a good portion of the success they've had, particularly against the NL East. And now back up to a 13.5 game lead on the Philadelphia Phillies, who also lost to the San Francisco Giants a little bit earlier in the day. So everything kind of clicking for the Braves as they close out this homestand. Now they have a very long road trip. I know we're going to get into Friday's matchup in game one against the San Francisco Giants, but this is going to be quite a test. We just saw the Giants, so there'll be some familiar faces and matchups that might be more favorable, but that could cut both ways. You go to Coors Field, we all know how that can go for a pitching staff, and then there's going to be some real intrigue at the end of this upcoming road trip. 4 games at Dodger Stadium against the team with the second best record in the league, the LA Dodgers.
That's why it's so important, to finish off this homestand and have a good one, because it's going to be a tough road trip. You got the off day on Thursday, but still, it's a long West Coast trip in the dog days of summer towards the end of the year. You got a big lead in the division right now. So it's going to be a pretty tough one, I think, just physically, mentally, with all that goes into that. So good to see them finish off this homestand strong. But, hopefully they do go on the road, maybe get some better weather. Maybe they're looking forward to that, and maybe it helps them kind of calm down, relax a little bit, whatever. Not that they need it with the way they've been playing, but again, just more importantly, finishing off this homestand strong, getting some good vibes going as you go up on your last big West Coast trip of the year.
Yeah, and it is going to be, again, a 3-city stop with 2 stops in California and sandwiched in between a little bit of Coors Field action, which the hitters, they might actually enjoy quite a bit. But as you heard Austin Riley mention after the game, I think you mentioned this earlier, everybody's looking forward to getting out of the heat wave that's rolling through Atlanta. And I can confirm it was a very, very hot week out at the ballpark. But for the Braves, the only thing hotter in the weather might be the way that they've been playing lately after winning 7 of their 9 games on this homestand. We'll talk a little bit about the opener of that series against the San Francisco Giants after I tell you about one of our great sponsors, as this episode of the Braves Postcast is brought to you by eBay Motors, who reminds you a championship team is about each player being a perfect fit, and it's the same with your vehicle. So look for parts that fit and head over to eBay Motors and look for that green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and of course, exclusions apply. Braves will be heading out to San Francisco to begin this long road trip. It will be the first of 3 against the Giants with Spencer Strider on the mound. I feel like, as we've talked about, the starting rotation needing to course correct, get back on track, start, being able to pile up a few good appearances individually and collectively. Spencer Strider certainly done that over his last handful of starts, including his last one out against San Francisco.
Yeah, looking for more of the same from Strider. I mean, he's just been absolutely dominant lately, and as really a lot of the Braves pitching staff has been as well, again, since that one little hiccup through the rotation. So I want to see more of that, see him continue on that trend as these guys look to get ready for the postseason. He has back-to-back scoreless outings, so hopefully he's going to continue that trend as well and going deep in the game. 7 innings in his last 2 appearances as well. So you would love to see that continue. And then that Giants team, I mean, they're tough. They have some good pitching as well. And you never know what Gabe Kapler is going to do in a ball game and the decisions that he makes. So looking forward to seeing what happens there. But hopefully they get the West Coast trip off to a good start with Spencer Strider on the mound.
Yeah, you had to remind me about Gabe Kapler's managerial style. Maybe that's the one thing I'm not looking forward to staying up so late and watching, is what ticky-tack thing is going to go under review in that series. But that aside, and however things go, the Giants club is a tough one. They do have some good ball players, and they're hoping to keep their wild card hopes alive. So these series against the Braves, they played them pretty tough in the one again in Atlanta. So obviously Oracle Park, I should say, is going to be a place where the Braves need to go in and make sure they're playing some tough baseball to start out this road trip on a good note. 14-4, 3.57 ERA for Spencer Strider. The Giants have yet to name a starter officially for Friday. We'll see who they are throwing against Atlanta. 10:15 p.m. Eastern time at Oracle Park is the first pitch of game 1 of the series. So if you're staying up late, We certainly appreciate that. We look to bring you as many as we can throughout the course of this road trip, though we all may have to drink a little coffee and a little less Crown late into the night to be able to pull that off. That'll bring us to the end of this edition of the Braves Postcast. As always, we appreciate you riding along with us, regardless of the time or the time zone. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Click that bell to get notified every time we drop a new episode. And make sure you hit that like button, leave us a comment, share the show with a friend. All of those help the show and the channel grow. And make sure to subscribe to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Once again, a great night of baseball at Truist Park as the Braves take the series from the Mets, the season series as well, with a 7-0 victory behind Charlie Morton. They'll start out their long road trip behind Spencer Strider on Friday. Once again, for Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. We will catch you next time. And until then, so long, everyone.